Hello, we're alive. I'm Amanda Call. This is my channel. And hey, we're actually gonna be doing a comic page. I feel like it's been a while since we've done not just a comic page, but an Age of Night page. Yeah, it's been a minute since we've come back around to doing one of these. We've been working on a bunch of other stuff. So this is chapter 29, page 9. So this is the chapter that I'm just starting online this week. So like starting tomorrow, the first page is going up for everybody. My patrons already saw the first page of the chapter. So far, available publicly is only the title page. But as I've mentioned previously, my patrons are always a week ahead, so they have gotten to see the first page already. This page, the reason it's all the way in page 9 is not that scene. This is a completely different scene. We've changed to a different part that you will get to later. And this is kind of just like the establishing part of this new scene here. So it's a good place to be doing one of these pages because we're just kind of establishing a scene. I'm not really going to be giving anything away by doing this. So there's that. So I have 4 panels all gridded out here. I put in a perspective grid on the first panel, and now I'm just going to kind of rough everything in, start getting an idea of where my stuff is going to go. Which, of course, at this stage is very much just like blobs. Lots of blobs. Laying the land with some of the blobs here. And now we've got to put in some actual character blobs. Ah, yes, you get to watch me draw mediocre horses. My favorite thing. What does a horse look like? I don't even know, but that's okay because we're gonna. These are just little place horse. Placeholder horses. They're place horses. We'll make better horses later. Right now, they just need to take up the vague space that a horse will take. It's okay if they're kind of wonky at this point. If they're just kind of like wonky jelly beans with legs, that's okay. I just need to know where in the scene they're going to go, get roughly the correct proportion of how much space they're going to take up. Will that need some adjustment? Yeah, probably. So if you've been following along in the story, you can tell that we have rejoined our main cast. We've got these little placeholder jelly beans. We've got Thel and Drake riding a horse. We've got several of the Mandrian cavalry escorts here. And there's Wen and Kamaria back there. And another horse. Being led by somebody. All right. So that's roughly what's going on with this panel. Now we've got to make room for some speech bubbles. So I will just point out that I do have out of frame here. Oh, geez. How am I going to hide this in such a way that you won't see what's going on? Hey, look, there's my thumbnail and some script that I can actually show you because that's what I'm working on, and not all of the stuff that happens right before it that I don't want you to see yet because that would be very spoilery. But yes, I have my script and my thumbnails right off to the side. Hey, someone saying, thanks so much for joining me this evening. So I know what it is that I am working on. And I do always plan out my word balloon placement in the thumbnail stage to make sure that not only that I leave enough room for what I think should be the space I will need for all of the words, but also that the placement of the word balloons flows with the overall composition of the page, which you'll see, especially on this page, what I'm talking about with that. Once we get everything kind of roughed in, I'll show you what I mean. Hopefully I remember. My old horsey head. Thanks. We've got Drake and Thel riding back here. Oh, no, I have no idea how to do this pose. I have to do a pose here, and I have no clue how to do it. Let's see, because it's a person getting off a horse. I honest to goodness have like no clue what that gesture looks like. Okay, dismounting a horse. Oh, that's a lovely Rutgers Equine Science Center has a written description. I need a visual. Thank you very much. Yeah. Where's a good like midpoint of this process? This is an awkward looking process. I can't say as I had looked this up previously. This looks, oh no, the American Red Cross is calling me. They want my blood. Stop. You're so loud. Go away. You can't have my blood right now. I need it. Okay. How to emergency dismount from a horse. That doesn't look good. All of these are very awkward looking, I gotta say. This is an awkward looking process. This one lady looks like she's going to fall over. Good grief. Okay, I can see why this was maybe not the most natural thing to think of. Okay, so we'll try this. Emergency dismount. Yes, it's just falling off. Falling with style, I guess. I will say that I've only ever been on a horse a couple of times. One of them did involve falling off. Which was not ideal. I think that's probably like the last time I was on a horse. Not because it was like, oh no, I fell off the horse and I don't want to get back on it. Just I haven't had the opportunity since to get on a horse again. Because this was in like middle school probably. Man, that was a long time ago. And one of my friends in middle school, I had stayed over at her house and she had a horse. He was just like a sweet old boy. He was not like by any means meant to be doing things anymore. He was meant to be eating grass, left alone out in a field with his cow friends and not deal with obnoxious teenage girls bothering him. But we were bothering him, and we my friend was like, "Oh, we'll ride the horse." I forget its name, but yeah, the little like pony ride type style where it's just like just sit on the horse and the horse will be led around. Um did I fall off the other time I was on a horse too? I think I did. I think I might have. I don't remember. Some of my older memories are a little more scattered, but anyway. I do remember the other horse stepped on me, but like stepped on my foot. That was awful. But anyway, so this horse, we were at my friend's house and she was like, "Let's ride the horse." And we like he didn't have any tack on or anything. He was just wearing like a halter and and was completely bareback, and I like got on behind my friend who was like, "It's fine. I ride him bareback all the time. You can ride with me." And then for whatever reason, he like he was just kind of like walking around and that was fine. And then for whatever reason he picked up some speed and we both just like plop. Just I think he like barely started to trot and we just kind of like floop right off of the horse. Okay. How was that? Yeah, my one of my aunts had a horse with her like best friend that she lived next door to. Like they like co-owned a horse. Yeah, it was very silly. And like in hindsight, that poor old guy was probably just like, "Oh my god, leave me alone." Like, I'll get rid of these brats. Um, but yeah, when I was like in elementary school, one of my aunts had a horse with one of her friends that she lived next door to, and I rode him a few times, and there were like grand plans of like spending more time uh with her and actually learning how to ride said horse. His name was Seamus. I remember him because even when I wasn't trying to ride him, I visited him many times when I visited my aunt. Because he was Seamus. He was a brown quarter horse, and he had two goat friends because he didn't have any horsey friends, and horses don't like to live alone. So he had a couple of goat friends, and his goat friends were Barbara Ann and Chloe. I do remember all of that. I rode him a couple of times, like slightly more than just like the sit on the horse while we lead him around kind of thing. I mean, it was still essentially like that, but there was a little bit more of a here, you can tell him where to go. Because he was also like a retired teaching horse. Like he had been for his career before he had retired to be like a glorified pet living with my aunt and her friend. His job had been like as an riding instruction horse. And so he was used to people just not really having a clue what to do with him. And so he would just kind of like chill. He would just kind of stand there, wait for you to sort yourself out. He was very patient. But he did step on my foot. That was not intentional. He's just a very large animal, and he did not know that his feet and my feet were right near each other. I think I'm going to push this figure a little further back. I don't want her quite that close. Back up. Back up. I can't find my plastic eraser, like my square one. It has disappeared. I ordered a new one. I thought I had a spare even. Can't find it. The gremlins have made off with it. But yes, I never did actually learn how to ride because right around the time that it was like, oh yeah, you should come and spend some time here and actually learn how to ride this horse. Shortly thereafter, we moved to a different state, so that was no longer feasible. All right, we've got Drake leaping down here. And there's going to be some horse situation over here. Okay, so I have things more or less roughed in now, and so I could show you what I was talking about as far as the like using the word balloons in the overall flow of the page. So in this big establishing shot panel here, obviously you have this movement that's going to be kind of like drawing your eye down along this curve that you have the line of all of the figures, and the elements in the background are going to be feeding into that. That's going to bring us down to our first couple of word balloons. So you're going to go across here into the next panel, and then in this panel, it goes this word balloon, down to this word balloon. And so then down here, your next word balloon in this bottom panel is right here. And then you're going to follow it the rest of the way out. And so that's the idea, is that is as much as possible, try to use the word balloon placement to help guide the reader's eye around the page rather than working against where their eye is naturally going to want to go across the page. Obviously, it doesn't always work great. It doesn't always work out super nicely like this. If you can get it to work super nicely like this, then that's awesome. And that should be like what you're striving towards, but it's not always going to be like perfect. There will be times where you struggle to make a series of word balloons even remotely legible. like to flow with the page at all, and that just it happens. It happens sometimes. But this is what you should be striving for, is to get the placement of the word balloons to enhance the visual movement through the page rather than to stall it out or work against it. I hope that series of words made sense. I don't know if it did. Okay, so everything is roughed in. We're like 20 minutes in. I'm going to start tightening up some of this stuff, so I need to sharpen my pencil. I have rid my oh yeah, I banished my phone because the Red Cross wanted my blood. I have some reference images. I'm just kind of skimming of like cool. Hey, phone, can you brighten up phone screen so the fine people can see that, sort of, kind of? Yeah, we've got some rocks and trees and stuff. That's hard to see because my phone doesn't want to brighten up enough to let you see. But yes, that's what I have. Those are photos that I took that I'm using as reference because I thought it was a cool place. So I kind of have that pulled up off to the side here. I'm not using any of the photos exactly as reference, like trying to copy what I saw there. I'm just kind of like pulling elements from them to give me an idea of what I want this, like different parts of this to look like. Get some of this weird sedimentary stone with its cool layers going on here. I'm having trouble getting started with your writing. I have my concept pretty down, but I can't get a foothold to start my climb. So that is very tricky. I can understand. I've been there. I've been there. I don't know if you're more of an outline person or if you're more of a just winging it type person. This is what some writers refer to as pantsers and plotters. I don't particularly care for those terms because they sound stupid. I think they sound really dumb and juvenile. But if you're more of an outline person, I'm more of an outline person. So I always find it helpful to try to write an outline of, even if it's just like a super bare bones, like what do I want? Where do I want to start? What do I want to happen in the middle? What do I want to have for the end? Or even if I just have, what do I want for a start and an end? And then what makes sense for the middle? Like what can I build on top of that? And then just write out this very rough kind of outline of like, yes, I want X, Y, and Z to happen. Um, and then just like so my process is that I tend to write that very, very, very broad overarching idea of like X, Y, and Z is going to happen, but I don't worry too much at that point about how exactly. Just get I want this to happen, and then that causes this to happen, or this just happens next, and I'll figure out why or how. And then this happens, and we end up over here, and so then once I have my basic structure of where I want to go, then I'll start looking at the individual pieces and zooming in and tightening each one of them up, until I get a fairly detailed outline of like this scene is going to happen, and this is the point of this scene. Like this is the outcome I'm looking for from this scene to get us to the next scene or to get us to a later scene. And I kind of go through methodically like that until I have a pretty tight outline, and then I start actually sitting down and hammering on keys. But I know that that method does not work for everybody, and some people prefer to just like start with vibes or a like loose idea of scenes, and some people find it very helpful to just if they have like an idea for a scene, they just write that scene and they just kind of go and see where that takes them. And then maybe they'll work backwards from that and be like, okay, well, what's the scene that makes sense to come before this? Or what's a different scene that I want? And how do I bridge them? Um, or just start writing and just in general, see what happens. Like what is gonna happen if I start writing here? What will I discover in this process? Uh and then without like starting without a specific goal, just start writing some stuff about the world, like just an actual narrative scene about the world that takes place in your story, just to kind of break through that initial wall and start rolling. I don't know how much of that is actually useful. I know sometimes it's just a matter of needing to let things percolate for a little while too, and that is also totally fine and normal. Sometimes you just gotta walk away a little bit, work on something else, or work on nothing, and just give your brain a little bit to chew on it in the background until it decides that there's something that it really has figured out and wants to let out. I also find that happens to me a lot is that I get stuck in like a loop. Yeah, and so someone saying said that it won't be able to just wing it. For what I have in mind, I need some means to plot out key points, and that's totally fair. In which case, you can kind of look at the if it helps, you can look at doing just a random scene as just a way to kind of um, jumpstart like the getting to the feel of what you're trying to convey, and you don't have to keep the scene. You can just have it be something that happened somewhere in the world, or you can decide that you hate it, but it can just kind of be, and you're going to scrap it entirely, but it can just kind of be like an exercise to get rolling. But yeah, I sometimes find that I just get stuck in like a little feedback loop of just being like, I don't know what to do about this thing because of this thing. And so I don't know what to do about this thing because of this thing. And I just kind of keep repeating that and mulling it over and over again. And that's kind of the sign of like, okay, it's time to walk away. It's time to walk away and let our brains think about this and come back to this later. All right, I need a picture of some horsies doing a nice little trail ride. Do. How does it look to trail ride with a horsey? Wow, some of these pictures are like really dramatic looking. I don't need anything that dramatic. Ah, that's a nice picture of a person riding a horse on a trail. Okay, so we're gonna erase this jelly bean with legs, and we're gonna replace it with an actual horse. Hopefully, with a minimum of cursing. Yeah. Okay. I mean, they still kind of have a potato shape to their bodies, as all the best creatures do. See, look at that. That's a potato. Jelly bean. That would be a good horse name. What's your horse's name? Jelly bean. That back leg looks kind of super duper long. Kind of a little bit more super duper long than necessary. Reminds me of, like, you know, those Salvador Dali paintings where like the elephants have like the super long, thin legs. Why is your head so far away? Why did I draw your head so far away in this sketch? It's a giraffe horse. That head is looking slightly too large. Kind of goofy. All right, let's try that again. Oh, I broke it. I erased too aggressively and I broke it. I don't know where it went. It's on my floor somewhere. Whoops. That's why I don't use this one very much, is that it does that. It's not great. This is not my favorite eraser, but again, I don't know where my little square Mars plastic one went. And my replacement is not here yet. And I'm having like a stupid busy couple of weeks where I haven't gotten the last time I was at the art supply store, I did not realize I was missing my plastic eraser, because I could have picked one up there, but I won't get another chance to go to the art supply store anytime soon because I'm very busy right now. This person looks a little bit too large. I think the horse needs, like, I think they need to move up and be slightly smaller. And the horse might need a little bit more butt. More butt on the horse. That's better. That's looking a little more in proportion. Okay. It was maybe a little bit too aggressive. Maybe just a little. Oh, goodness. I have, so where is my other eraser? My other eraser is a little bit finer, and that's what I'm going to use for some of these little details. This guy, oh my gosh, this one's my favorite. This is a General's, I think. The actual branding wore off a while ago. It's got like a rubber kind of coating on it. But these are they're so good. I think it's General's. I think that's the eraser refills I get for it. It's so good. It's like just the perfect size. It's still a white plastic eraser, but it's because it's a little bit smaller, it tends to be a little bit more durable. It doesn't get as much like you can't get it swaying back and forth as much. It doesn't tend to break as often. If any of that made sense. Anyway, all right, we're going to start adding some details to this character. All right, doesn't wobble as much. Yeah. So it's like, so I guess what I'm saying is that like because this one is a little bit like thicker, you tend to like kind of try to get more of it out, and then it does more of this situation because you're like, I gotta erase more of an area, and then you break it like I just did. Whereas this one, it's like, I'm erasing a tiny little area, and so I'm not gonna extend as much, and then it doesn't get to wobble as much, and then I'm less likely to break it. So I guess that's really more operator error. Oh, I was about to pull up the reference image I have of the tack on these horses because it has been a minute since I drew them. What do they have? What does their stuff look like? I've got these like triangular stirrups. Also, which color horse does this character have? I don't remember. I do have all this written down somewhere. Like all the different All the different cavalry characters have their own particular horses. I can't tell from this picture. That's not helpful. All right, where did I write it down? In a sketchbook. Do. Where is this? I feel like I've gone too far. Yeah, I think I did. Where is this information? I'm so prepared. This is so professional. There we go. I found it. Okay. Okay. This one is a Dapple Gray. That's kind of what I thought, but I couldn't remember. I need to actually like write this down, and not in a sketchbook, but like in like a Word document so I can get to it without having to flip through a random sketchbook. Do. That would be very smart. A notes app would be a good idea. I should do that. And of course, all of the horsies are carrying a bunch of stuff, as well as their riders. All right, this is the Dapple Gray. So just so I remember when I come into ink, we're going to do little dots. Dots. There we go. All right, I've gotten all of one horse and rider. Oh, goodness. And one dude who's just walking. Drawing horses is hard. Oh, that's a tiny picture. That's not helpful. Okay, so we're gonna do this horse and rider next. I'm gonna retract this eraser a little bit, so hopefully I don't break it again. No, oh, oh, get in there. Okay. All right, different jelly bean horse. What is happening? What are these joints? What are these joints in this horse's leg? That's better. Ish. All right, there's that jelly bean horse. When I was a kid, I used to wish there was a way I could just think of what I wanted to draw and it end up on paper. Now that AI exists, I wish there wasn't a way for that. Yeah, it's the whole thing is just like kind of goofy to me because it's like, but don't you do you not enjoy the process? Like the whole reason I do this is because I enjoy the process. Like, yes, sometimes the process is difficult and frustrating and doesn't work out the way that you want it to, but that's like what makes it rewarding when it does. It's just yeah, the whole thing just very silly to me. Very silly. Well, look what I did. You did not. But I'm not going the whole I'm not gonna go on the whole AI rant right now other than it's sucks and is stupid. And whatever possibilities for actual uses it may have, that's not what's happening. It's just a bunch of bullshit that's happening at this point, unfortunately. There's a couple of really good ones about like people attempting to replace like actual working artists, like production artists with AI and how goofy that has been. Like the one post that's been going around about the art director who Yeah, like, I get that as far as, "Oh, let's just see what wacky stuff this comes up with," and, like, maybe it'll spit out a combination of things I was not expecting, and that's kinda cool to use that to riff on. Um, that I could definitely see, but yeah, it's not generally how people are using it. But yeah, the one about, like, an art director who his company hired a bunch of, like, prompters and instead of artists for a project, and how, like, which just goes to show that, like, folks who have been like, "Ah, ha, ha, we're gonna replace artists," have no idea what goes into, like, actual production art, because they just saw that, "Ah, look at these pretty pictures that I see, like, in the final, like, that get released along with, like, a finished game or a finished movie or whatever," and they don't see the, like, tons and tons of iterations that go into getting to that point. And they don't realize that those iterations and changes and everything that you do to get to that process is, like, a big part of the process. It's just like, no, you just draw some cool stuff and then they make it. And so I can tell the machine to do that. But that, like, because of how AI works, you can't tell it, I want you to create this exact picture again, but make, like, this one small change. It is literally not capable of that because of how it works, which that's way more of a discussion than I can get into right at the moment because we're coming up on time here. Um, but that the art director would be like, "Oh, I like this, but can you change this one small thing?" And the prompters just literally could not, and would get, like, very frustrated and just not understand, like, "Well, no, I can't do that. Why would you want that? Like, why are you asking for that? What am I supposed to do?" And it's like, well, if you actually knew how to art, then you could just change this one small thing. Just be like, "I like this, but hey, can you, fix the perspective in this scene? Can you add this thing over here?" Like, no, they can't because they don't actually know how to do anything. But it's just like when you're working on a project, like when you're doing a production, any amount of production artwork, that is a huge part of what you are doing is just making these, like, different iterations with small adjustments. That and those stupid model sheets. Oh my god, the stupid animation model sheets that people have been relentlessly piling on social media because it's like, yes, a model sheet that shows a bunch of random expressions, and there's so many changes in the character between these expressions that it is utterly useless. Uh, like you saw model sheets like in an art of Disney book or whatever and have no concept of what those are used for, huh? Like, okay. All right, but we are getting close to time, so I'm going to quickly do the YouTube things while I finish up this horse, hopefully. And remind you all, I'm Amanda Call. This is my channel, where I occasionally go on rants, but also I do artwork, as you can see, real live human artwork where I am drawing things. In this case, this is a page from my webcomic, Age of Night, which you can read at ageofnight.com. That's AGEOFNIGHT.com. I update a new comic page just about every week. We just started chapter 29, so it's a great time to jump in. All of that is available to read online for free. However, if you want to help support my attempts at making comics, you can do so over on Patreon. It's patreon.com/ageofnight, spelled just the same as the comic. Patrons always get their comics a week early, plus other cool little behind the scenes peeks at stuff, free comics for signing up, other fun little bonuses and things. I try to make it worth your while, and of course, I just super appreciate the support. It's great. You can also catch me on various social medias. Obviously, I do this YouTube stream just about every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, where I will be working on some sort of art for a few weeks here. It looks like it's going to be this comic page because I still have quite a bit to do on this one. But I'm active on most of the social medias to varying levels of very to not at all. But on pretty much any of them, you can find me at Amanda Call Art or Age of Night. Almost done with this horsey. Here we go. Oh, that's came out being a nice looking horsey. That is a good looking horsey. He came out pretty good. Thanks, Brenda. Also, I'm glad you were able to drop in, although I'm about to end the stream, but still, I appreciate it. Good to see you briefly. All right, so that is going to do it for this evening. We started with just some panel borders and a perspective grid. Now we've got everything is roughed in, and I have a couple of pretty decent horsies and a guy. I got to do some more horsies next time. So next week we're going to try to continue on with this penciling. Hopefully we'll get a little bit further, and hopefully it'll go faster once I get done with all of the horsies, because they're difficult. Horstacular. Well, thank you. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I will see you all next time. Bye.